On this episode of Bite Sized, we are watching and discussing the 21st scene from the movie Twilight. For those of you watching along at home, that is from 2702 to 2822. A lot of twos in there. And now, on to the episode. Hello and welcome once again to yet another episode of Bite Sized, a Twilight film retrospective. A subtitle that I put in the artwork for this show, but I don't think I've ever actually used. There it is. If this is your first episode, here's what's going on. My name is Ben Aber. I'm a comedian in the Chicago area. I am watching the Twilight movies one scene at a time in chronological order and discussing them with a different guest every week. Speaking of guests, this week I have a comedian and a performer, two words that mean the same thing, also from Chicago, Austin Packard.
Hello.
I didn't mean to roast you right off the bat.
No,
but when you said
that's very fitting.
When you told me what you wanted to be known as, and you said comedian, performer, my first thought was, oh, that's the same word.
I'm just ashamed to say improviser.
No, that's fine. We were talking about that beforehand.
Yeah.
And you should be maybe a little bit, but not too much.
Yeah. I mean, I like performing, but I don't like learning things. So
it's unfortunate because most people either don't know really what an improviser is, and if they do, there's
like a
chances of them
it's like a stigma.
Not respecting the art of improv is pretty good.
Yeah.
Even as I say that, I can't get through it with a straight face.
I don't want people to not be friends with me because they think I'm going to invite them to bad improv shows. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's a reason I haven't included podcaster on my list of titles.
Ooh, that's good. Yeah,
even though I'm a good few months into this.
Man, you feel that call, though. Everybody feels that call to podcast.
I know. How's it going? For those of you who aren't in Chicago, it started snowing.
It's awful.
For the first time this season.
It's so cold.
I don't know about you, but I hate it.
To be honest, I'd rather it be cold than hot.
Disagree?
But I think I'm just uncomfortable all the time. I think it's just what I'm learning into adulthood. I never like the current weather.
Oh, no. I like too hot.
Yeah.
That's my ideal weather.
I like 60 and raining. That's
No,
the weather
that's
that I
worse.
actually like.
That's the worst. That is why fall is my least favorite season.
Oh, really?
Which I know is a hot take.
Yeah.
But fall in Chicago is constantly that like 50s and 60s and just sort of gray and drizzly for like a month and a half.
That's great.
I hate that.
I love that.
It's much like the weather you would find in Forks, Washington, perhaps in the movie Twilight.
And there's a transition.
Yeah, that's what we in the business
But they're not even
call.
outside in this clip.
No, they're not, but we'll get into that. We're going to start this the way I start all discussions on this show. That is by asking you, Austin Packard, what is your history with the Twilight franchise?
Okay, here's the thing.
Okay.
I could have sworn that I had seen the first Twilight movie.
Okay.
Until I saw the clip you sent me.
Yeah.
And I've never seen this movie before.
Is it possible that you just don't remember this specific part?
It's possible.
One of the more forgettable scenes, I would say.
What I know is that I think it's the sort of thing where I have just been surrounded by Twilight stuff my whole life. That I feel like I have seen enough of it. Like I feel I get it. I know the whole thing.
Like me and Harry Potter.
Yeah. When I think of Twilight, even still, I had a close friend in high school who she was so
brag about it.
She was
Mr.
so
close friends over
into Twilight.
Yeah.
She had an Edward Cullen cutout, and we would have fun stealing it and running it all around town and like taking it to restaurants and things like that.
Very fun.
Yeah, I have a picture, actually. I found a picture.
Okay, great.
I wanted you to... I was like, I bet this will come up, and I'll send you this if you want this for anything.
Wow, is that you?
But that's me as a high school senior, 2010, in November, with my friends Edward Cullen.
Hanging out with a cardboard cutout of Edward Cullen.
Great for podcast material.
Yeah, for the listener, that's the picture I was just showing.
I have hair in that picture.
Were you intentionally avoiding Twilight? Were you of the Twilight is for girls type?
Yeah, I was like a crummy high school boy, being like, oh, I don't like popular things. I don't like what the girls are into.
Well, what were you into, if not Twilight?
Oh, like Doctor Who.
Yeah.
And like Harry Potter and stuff.
That
like
squares with what
Minecraft.
Well, let's dive on into it then. Let's get a brief overview of the scene. We are at a field trip. Mr. Molina has taken his biology class, I guess, or maybe a bunch of students to some sort of composting facility / greenhouse. There's some compost tea. Bella and Edward have an uncomfortable conversation. She almost falls over. Anna Kendrick says she's going to prom with Mike. That's the broad, brief overview of it.
It's really just a filler scene. It's really just there to keep things moving. Like
No, which is why it doesn't at all surprise me that you would watch this for the first time
and not remember
maybe
this
not
one.
for the first time, but say I have never seen this before, even if you had seen it at least once 13 years ago or whatever.
Yeah. I didn't realize it was a field trip.
Oh, yeah.
In my head, I was like, is this at their school?
Really?
Yeah.
You thought there was like some big weird greenhouse at their school?
I don't know.
Well, now I regret saying
school,
there was a field trip because we could have unpacked this a lot more.
My school didn't have a garden, but
No,
I'm like, a lot of
not.
movie high schools have fun things. Like,
yeah, but like greenhouses? I feel like
High School
high
Musical
schools,
has like a garden on the roof.
they're on a field trip to some sort of composting facility. What kind of field trips did you go on?
I think I went to, there's a company, I forget what it's called. They make raisin bread.
Okay.
And I went to a raisin bread factory once.
Where in the world is this?
Is it Schwabel's? Is that a thing? Is there?
I have no idea.
Schwabel's
Don't ask
raisin
me,
bread?
man. You're the one making things up.
I think that's a thing. I think it's in Ohio. I remember getting bread
Okay.
from a field trip, like with raisins in it.
Schwabel's Bakery.
Where is it?
According to Wikipedia, Youngstown, Ohio.
That would make sense. That's
Okay.
close enough. That's a field trip. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So you got to see
So that was my field trip,
how raisin bread is made.
and take some home.
That's nice.
Yeah.
That's not a bad.
Honestly,
I mean, it's got
I was a
raisins in
kid.
it, so
I don't
that's-
think I had any field trips past 6th grade. I don't really know that I had any field trips. It was all just like choir trips, but those were all like overnight.
Yeah, I
big things.
feel like field trips. I don't know much about them. I was as is well established on
Yes.
this podcast. I was homeschooled. Did not
Yes.
have a normal experience until I was roughly in my mid-20s.
Yeah.
That's when my experiences start getting normal.
In my experience, high school is not the time for field trips.
No,
It's
that's
younger
like
kids going on field
elementary
trips.
school type
Yeah.
of deal.
And definitely not just to compost farms.
Right.
Compost is cool. Now stuff that in there.
Yes,
Very
sir.
good, very good. Now I'm gonna make a steaming cup of compost tea.
Give me that.
Yeah, this is recycling in its most basic form, guys. Don't drink it.
It's for the plants.
I don't want to skip ahead, but is there a reason that the story demands they go to this compost farm?
No.
Because it seems to it acts like it's really important that we know about the compost tea. Like we get a nice long shot of him pouring it into the glass.
I think that's just establishing where we're at sort of in the world. I could, if I really wanted to, I could sit here and spin some elaborate analysis about Twilight is a story about life and death, and compost is about taking dead things and creating life. But I'm not really interested in doing that.
I don't
now.
think we should give this movie that credit.
Certainly not.
But
I don't
it does.
know.
It's if just from watching this clip alone, if you told me at the end of the movie Bella saves the day with her knowledge of compost,
No.
but it just seems like it's made really important that we understand the compost.
You would think if this was the only 80 seconds of Twilight you had seen in over a decade, you would think composting is more central to the plot.
I'd be like, oh, the compost movie, and then no.
No, this goes away kind of immediately.
I do like that teacher though,
Mr. Molina?
He's trying his best.
He's very enthusiastic.
Yeah,
He kind of looks like Tony Shalhoub,
a little bit,
and I love that.
Yeah, I want to know why the one student grabs the compost tea out of his hands really fast.
He does.
And he really wants it.
You know, he's a goofy kid who got a cup of something gross in a weirdly nice mug.
Yeah.
He's got like a glass mug.
That Mr. Molina, is that it?
Mr. Molina.
Pulls out of the compost thing. Like, there's a lot that's clearly been set up by the movie. It doesn't make sense. Like, they're like, the glass is here, pull it out and get some of the juice. My number one note from this movie, and I think it's something that you
mean from this clip or from the whole movie?
From this clip. No, this is the whole movie to me.
Okay.
There's one moment in this that I think needs more attention, and it's the terrible sound edit between cuts where Mr. Molina says, "Don't drink that," and then there's a hard cut, and you hear what is clearly a very different take of him going, "It's for the plants."
This is recycling in its most basic form, guys. Don't drink it.
It's for the plants.
Don't drink it.
It's for the plants.
Don't drink it.
It's for the plants.
Wow,
See
you're
what
right.
I mean?
That's crazy.
it's so sharp. It's so
jarring.
Poorly done.
Speaking of poorly done things, should the kids be allowed to touch the plants as much as they are?
They're so into it.
They're really hands-on with the plants.
Everybody is so into this field trip to a compost farm.
Yeah.
Except for the two assholes at the center of the movie.
Now, again, I'm not the most experienced with field trips, but I feel like typically when you go somewhere with a bunch of other students, you're not supposed to touch stuff, especially
not
like
really.
living plants that you might damage.
Mr. Molina would not be leading the field trip. There would be a representative who works at the compost farm who is telling them all
Right.
about the magic of compost.
Unless this is Mr. Molina's personal greenhouse.
It could be. and that's why he knows all about where he keeps the glass.
It's not entirely out of the question. I think it's unlikely that a public school teacher would have that sort of
It'd be weird if a public school teacher, though, was like, do you kids want to take a field trip to my house?
I don't know. But then again, I don't know much about high school. Maybe that's a thing that happens.
It didn't happen in mine. I went to
Okay.
public school, and there were some weird things that happened, but not.
You went to bread factories like a normal person.
We went to bread factories. There was one teacher who got fired later for being really like I don't know why specifically she got fired, but in hindsight, she's hyper religious, and a lot of my 12th grade English class was researching and understanding the Bible.
Interesting.
And I didn't think about it until well after I'd graduated.
Yeah, those things happen.
I rapped about the Bible. We did multiple projects
Oh my
about Bible
God.
stories in public high school.
I was homeschooled in a very Christian way and somehow never did anything
Never did
like that.
You never made up a rap about the...
I don't think I ever made one up, no.
No?
I sang plenty of songs about the Bible in
Yeah.
more churchy environments,
Oh,
but
yeah.
I don't think I ever did a Bible rap. Do you remember
gotta try
any
it.
of it?
I sadly remember all of it.
Oh my God.
I won't.
I'm tempted.
No.
Just give us a little bit. Drop a couple bars.
It was a retelling of
You don't have to
the-
rap. Just tell us what sort of level the lyrics are at.
The opening lines
Yeah.
are, sit back, relax, and listen to a tale
I already hate this.
from the book that brought you Jonah and the whale.
Okay. We're going to stop right here because I think if that continues, I will
It was
throw
about
up.
I think there's a parable of the vineyard workers.
Okay.
And we've flipped it into factory workers because we were
Uh-huh.
supposed to modernize it. That was the whole project. This was 12th grade English
Yikes.
at a public school.
Uh-huh. What are we teaching our children?
Right.
Edward walks by and then Bella catches up with him and they have another weird conversation that's just all confrontational questions.
What's in Jacksonville?
How did you know about that?
You didn't answer my question.
Oh, you don't answer any of mine, so... I mean, you don't even say hi to me.
Hi.
Are you gonna tell me how you stopped the band?
It's like a bad improv scene. It's all
Yes.
like there's these long pauses where they're really serious. It's like a level 1 improv scene.
Yeah.
And there's long pauses where they're really focused and fixated on what they're going to say next.
In ways that don't make sense with what we've already seen in the movie. It starts out with Edward asking Bella, what's in Jacksonville?
Right.
And then Bella responds, how did you know about that? In the previous scene,
Yeah.
Bella and another guy were having a conversation in a parking lot
Right.
when she mentioned going to Jacksonville.
Oh, and he overheard it.
Yeah, he was like she was looking at him, at Edward, not too far away in the parking lot when this other guy came up and started talking to her. And so I don't think she would be this surprised or confused that
Like
a
this
guy,
just happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the scene prior to this, the kids are getting onto the bus to go to this composting thing.
Right.
And Edward, maybe 20, 30 feet away from Bella, could easily overhear that conversation even without being a vampire. It makes no sense to me that she would be surprised that the guy she was looking at heard her say something to another guy.
Right. Again, just from watching this scene, I was like, oh, this Jacksonville thing is a big secret.
What do you
that
think?
He's like dug up some dirt on her or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
What do
dug
you-
up some compost dirt.
Dug up some compost indeed. What do you think is in Jacksonville then?
Ooh, like Bella's like a third lover. That's where
Wow.
the third one is.
Wow.
The team Henry.
Henry?
That's where Henry's there. And-
Okay.
And Henry's
What is he? He's not a vampire,
Henry's
he's not a werewolf.
He's a mummy.
That old Egyptian name.
Yeah,
Henry.
Henry. Well, it's probably like it's like a combination of like two old Egyptian words, but like he makes it Henry.
It's Henry.
I would love to see this movie's version of other because we've got modernized vampires and werewolves, obviously.
Yeah, sure.
Like I want to see how who wrote this? Stephanie Meyer. Is that
Stephanie
who-
Meyer, yeah.
Yeah, I want to see how she would modernize things like a mummy
Sure.
or like a chupacabra.
Yeah, it's the Pacific Northwest. There's got to be a Bigfoot there somewhere.
I'd love a Bigfoot.
Yeah.
If they threw a Bigfoot in, come on.
High school Austin would have
they-
loved it.
And they all have a thing for Bella. Amazing.
Yes. And just every movie, there's a new monster that this girl has to deal with. And then ever increasing, it goes
What
from
a
a love
great-
triangle to a love square to
Right.
a love pentagon.
You get like a ghost kid,
Right.
a Mothman,
Yeah. A Jersey Devil child.
a Jersey. Why not?
There's
Throw them all in.
Anything.
Who's that? It's a Baba Yaga.
This guy over there, he's a skunk ape.
Yeah.
One of the lesser known of the cryptids. No one likes him, though. He smells real bad.
Oh, man. Have you met Luke Ness?
No.
He's from Scotland.
Oh, a foreign exchange student, I see.
That's right, Luke Ness.
Interesting.
He's always like poking his head out of the pool and then going back under.
No one can take good pictures of him. He's just always blurry. Let's see. They have some more conversation. They ask each other more questions.
Are you gonna tell me how you stopped the van?
Yeah. I had an adrenaline rush. It's very common. You can Google it.
Google it.
With the smuggest look.
I wrote that in my notes.
The most self-satisfied
He's
smirk.
so satisfied. He's like, that'll wrap it up.
It's interesting because this is now the third time in the movie she's asked him that same question. How'd you stop the van?
How long ago did this happen?
A few scenes ago.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. We're on scene 21 right now. That happened in scene 18, I
Okay,
think. Whichever episode had our...
But there's been a lot of time to ask this question.
Basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this is not the first time she's seen him since then. And the first time he asks, he was like, oh, I was just right there. I didn't stop it. I was just happened to be right next to you. And the second time he says, I didn't do anything. You hit your head. And now number 3, he's saying an adrenaline rush with this look on his face that like... I would say he was up all night, but he's a vampire, so he's always up all night. But like he's been thinking about what is the best way to explain this, and maybe his foster dad is like a doctor, so maybe he helped him figure this one out. But he has, I will post it on social media when I post this episode notice. But just the smuggest look on his face, like he's so proud of that dumb little lie,
and she seems to buy it. Because she accepts that in like their trade, right? Because they get like a I will tell you this if you tell me the secret.
Right.
You know, I'll tell you more about Jacksonville. Yeah.
Right.
I also hate you don't even say hi to me, and then there's a pause and he goes, hi. Like I hate that because also, and this is high school Austin still screaming out from deep inside of me, going, that is so lame, but so many girls were into that in high school. Like just like that weird like, oh, he finally said hi to me. Can you believe it? Like that's and he's just so smug. He's just so smug.
I do want to point out that a recurring sort of something that pops up a lot in this show is Robert Pattinson struggling to get down the American accent.
Yeah.
And in this scene, he says hi in the same way that he says die in an earlier episode.
I mean, you don't even say hi to me.
Hi. What was I supposed to do? Let it die. Hi. Die. Hi. Die.
This was early for him, wasn't it? Like
he'd done a few movies before. Oof, wow. He'd done a lot of interesting movies before this one with names like The Haunted Airman.
My dearest Julia, I'm settling in. I've room to myself in the old library. And I'm full of hope that soon I will come home to you and we will have a future together. Not as aunt and nephew, but as a woman and a man.
And The Bad Mother's Handbook.
They've got their own problems. Well, my mum has. She's really unhappy here and she's desperate to go back to Guildford. She had this affair and this is supposed to be a fresh start.
Blimey.
With her marriage guidance counselor.
Sorry, that's not funny.
And something simply called How to Be.
I don't know what I've been told. I'd like to find a way to break away.
But I can only assume that he was British in all of those. Either way, he was, you know.
The American accent is hard. Any different accent is hard.
You would think, but could they not at least spring for a dialect coach on this set?
Maybe that's why there's those long pauses, though. He's working through the diction.
He's trying to formulate exactly how to say this.
Trying to get his vowels right.
Yeah. They talk some more Bellatrips.
On what?
That's a great question. That's what I want to spend the next 15 to 20 minutes talking about.
And then he says, "Can you at least watch where you're going?"
Right.
Which again, I don't understand what he's asking for there.
Floridians. That's what's in Jacksonville.
You at least watch where you walk.
She does not fall into him.
Yeah.
She falls away from him. That trip does not inconvenience him in any way. It's
like
just
he's
being
embarrassed.
rude.
Yeah,
right.
He's just being a jerk.
We don't see what she trips on.
No.
It has no impact on the rest of the scene other than that one thing that he says.
Yeah.
It doesn't end their conversation because they keep talking. Why is that there? What purpose did that serve?
And so many other students have walked over it and not tripped.
We don't even know what it is. It's possible that just her toe scuffed the ground in the wrong way.
I would imagine it's just a director's thing going, you have to trip so Edward can be mean to you.
I don't, but like, why? What is that? He's already being mean to her.
I think, okay, if you look, he apologizes right after.
Look, I'm sorry I'm being rude all the time. I just think it's the best way.
Bella, guess who just asked me to prom?
So maybe the genius screenwriters of this were like,
you think this is some
something's got to
development.
happen that pushes Edward a little too far that he feels bad, so then he'll soften to the whole thing.
Interesting.
Because Edward acts like she is embarrassing him by tripping on the sidewalk.
Right.
But no one else seems to have noticed it.
One person does, and I'll get to that in a second.
Oh, okay.
Maybe, you know what? We'll just get into that right now.
Yeah.
It's time for a little segment that we here on the show call Extra Extra. Ben, drop that theme in. Here. Extra Extra is one of my favorite parts of the show. It's devoted to one of my favorite things, and when I watch any movie or TV show, is finding the background actor who's doing the weirdest thing, who stands out the most.
This one's got a foreground actor.
It does. Yeah. Oh, I think you've already figured out my extra.
Is it Flippy Hair Girl?
It's the bandana gal.
Oh, bandana girl.
She's wearing a bandana.
Oh, does she have a big flippy front bang?
Yeah.
Okay,
she's
the
the one who her face. She's standing right in front of Edward,
so close to the camera,
and her face is like right in front of the camera. It takes up the entire like bottom left quadrant of the screen.
I want to know her whole story
for like a full 30-40 seconds.
And she's like fixing her hair for a good bit of it.
But like you can just see this look in her eyes of like, don't do anything, don't upstage, or in this case downstage the two principal actors behind me.
Yeah.
Why is she there? Like, I get why she's there in the larger sense, but why would the director not say, hey,
get out of the way.
Hey, get behind the camera so that we're not looking at your face.
I imagine
weirdly large.
I imagine it's honestly somebody really thought that it's like, oh, it's like almost like documentary style if we shoot them through because there's another we're shot through two different people.
Yeah.
Like we're looking over the shoulders of two people. That I think it's probably meant to be like, oh, it's more realistic. Like you're just looking into this little conversation.
I bring up extra, but you say no one reacts to the fall except Edward. That's not true.
Right. That's right.
Bandana Girl has the most delayed reaction to this. Like Bella trips,
I can't believe I missed it.
And then about 5 seconds later, Bandana Girl turns around to look.
Can I see? So
there she is there taking up 25% of the screen.
Oh,
she goes down,
fall.
3, 2, 1,
and
there she turns around. She falls. We cut. There's a good 3 to 4 seconds, and then Bandana Girl.
It looks
turns
almost
around.
malicious.
It looks like
I have a theory.
Okay.
Bandana Girl dropped something, intending for Bella to trip on it.
You think this is her rival or something?
Bandana Girl
Bella.
wants Edward.
Okay.
Or Bandana Girl's a werewolf and is just trying to stir the pot.
That's...
And again, I have not seen any more of the movie.
And there's nothing within the text of the film that contradicts that. That could be true. It's a long shot, but it could happen.
Yeah, it could be.
I wonder if maybe she was told to react and then forgot and was like, oh, right, I got to turn around.
Right.
Let's see. They stop talking, and then Edward walks off as Anna Kendrick runs in.
Right.
Yeah, it seemed like you wanted to talk about this.
This is fast. The timing of this, I think, is important.
Sure.
We just saw her, like just a couple people in front of Bella.
Yeah.
This conversation's not that long. This clip's only like a minute long.
Yeah.
Anna Kendrick, what's her character's name?
Jessica,
I think. Of course it is. Jessica disappears from the shot.
Yeah.
And then runs back on saying, oh my God, this boy's asked me to prom.
Mike. Yeah.
Mike has asked me to prom. That has to have happened over the span of this short conversation between her and Edward.
Yeah, in the 50 to 60 seconds.
Is Mike in this scene? Do we see him in the lineup?
Briefly.
Do you know what my favorite way to ask someone to prom is?
What's that?
While slowly walking in line at a compost farm.
Well, she's got nowhere else to be.
And you know what my favorite response is?
What is
when I ask someone to prom in a compost farm? They clearly say yes. Then they turn around and scramble back to tell their friend that they're going to prom with someone else.
Yeah, she's excited. Here we are at the beginning of the scene. There's Jessica.
Right.
And blonde guy behind her is Mike.
That's Mike. Okay.
Yeah.
Bella, guess who just asked me to prom? Yeah, I actually totally thought that Mike was gonna ask you. It's not gonna be weird though, right?
No. Zero weirdness. You guys are great together.
I know, right?
It's a real filler scene. I mean, it's
It
a
really
real.
is.
It maybe, and again, I don't know the rest of the movie. It feels like they're just crossing some T's. Like they're like, hey, we don't have room in this one scene for them to have this conversation.
This is another scene that I feel like has come up a few times in the history of the show where, well, it's in the book, so we have to put it in the movie. That's the only reason these things exist. Yeah.
I would, if I could go back in time, I would argue them against that and go, why do they need to go to the compost farm if there is no reason for them to be there? Why can't,
I don't know.
This scene could have easily have just been in a hallway.
Austin,
at the high school.
I truly don't know.
It could have been anywhere. It could have been in the gym. It could have been outside.
We've already done a scene
school.
in the gym. We've already done a scene in the hallway. We've already done a scene outside the school.
Some movies reuse sets. Though,
I think they're trying
saying.
to. I think they're just trying to. I don't know. Go somewhere else.
They had like an overzealous like location scout, and they're like, guys, I found this.
I don't know.
House.
I truly don't know.
There's a glass mug in the compost.
Yeah,
jar.
that you might get a root beer float in from a diner.
Right, but don't drink it.
No,
it's for the plants.
Let's start to wrap this up. If you had to give this scene a name, what would it be? And this is also going to be the name of the episode, so make it good.
In my head, the name of this scene is that weird cut that I pointed out, which is don't drink it, dash, it's for the plants.
Okay.
And that dash indicates a hard cut.
Uh-huh.
So don't drink it, dash, it's for the plants.
Is that what we're going with then?
I guess.
It sounds like you want to change your mind.
Well, it just feels like the conversation has drifted away from that a little bit.
I mean, we've talked about so much.
No, I want to stick to my guns.
Okay.
I want to keep it, don't drink it, dash, it's for the plants.
Don't drink it, dash.
And I want to encourage everyone to pay attention to how bad that audio cut is.
It's for the plants. Fantastic. Austin, if people want to find out more about you, perhaps on social media, shows that you do that type of stuff, where can they do that?
I'm on Instagram.
Say it loud and proud.
I'm on Instagram.
There you go.
Google it. That'd be a good title. Oh, can I go back?
We'll Google it.
Can I go back?
I guess it's not too late.
Can I get
change.
a slash? Can I get a don't drink it dash it's for the plants slash Google it.
Slash
That's
Google
the
it.
full title.
All right. Andy Shravsky, watch out. You have some competition for most unwieldy title.
I am on Instagram.
I've Googled Instagram. Now what do I do?
At Austin Pack. You did Google Instagram.
I Googled Instagram. And you know what came up?
Your
Instagram.
Your computer now thinks you are 90 years old.
It thinks I don't know how this works.
No, I'm at Austin Pack. I post stuff there sometimes, but sometimes not.
Great. So no sense of urgency or anything.
Right.
Any shows you want to promote?
I'm in Riff with You.
Yeah, that's true.
That's Saturdays at 10 at I.O. We're also both in Lost Realms.
Yes.
That's Fridays at 10 at Otherworld. Come see the new Lisa McQueen and Laura Hall show at I.O., which is Phony Award winning Little Shop of Horrors.
Oh,
it's improvised Little Shop.
Laura Hall of Whose Line Is It Anyway?
That's
fame?
right. Yeah,
incredible.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else you want to promote?
We Live Improv, Second City. There's a bunch of things.
All right.
There's a whole.
It'll go up on your social media.
Yeah,
maybe.
It's all there. It's all on my. Just go to my bio and click the links.
Cool. If you want to follow the show on social media, you can follow at bitesizepod_ on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. You can follow me at benabear.com. That's BENHEBERTDOTCOM on Instagram and Twitter. You can email the show if you want to. You can send an email to myfavoritetwilightpodcast@gmail.com.
Has anyone done that yet?
Yeah, a few people have, including past guest Lily. Her mom.
Oh, that's right. Oh, I hope she's listening to this.
I think that was the first email that I read on the show.
Hi, Lily's mom, if you're listening.
Hello, Lily's mom. I'm almost certain you're listening to this, and everyone else that Lily's mom is going to send this to. Not to throw any shade on you there, Amy. Thank you for helping. Hey, if you want to help the show, you can be like Amy and tell your friends about it. Subscribe to the show. Give us a 5 stars on Instagram. You can't do that. Give it 5 stars on Spotify or iTunes or where you ever listen to podcasts. Thank you so much to my editor, Ben Oxher, for putting this all together and dropping a couple audio things in there that we mentioned today. Thank you to the band Swimwear Department for the use of their theme song, for the use of their song Mauled to Death as the theme for this show. It's not their theme song, it's the show's theme song. It's just a song that they do. Give them a listen at wherever you find music if you like surf rock punk type of music. And that is it. That is all we have for today on this episode of Bite Size. Join us next week when we talk about a different part of the same movie. Until then,
Google it.
See you next time.